All right, so Mr. GMike, man, you're up next, my man. What is your second bold prediction?
Man, I believe the Miami Dolphins will finally win a playoff game, man. I think that they will finally get it done. The last 3 to 4 years have been hell for them when it comes to injuries, when it comes to unluckiness, when it comes to just not having the faith there together as a team. I think the football gods are going to bless them this season. They're going to be able to make the playoffs, and they're going to get at least a win, either one win or two wins. Will be dope to see, to see the city of Miami experience that AFC championship, or even the just getting to the AFC championship game. But I think they're gonna win one game for sure. I think they're gonna, like I said, they're gonna get into the playoffs. They're gonna win one game, and I think Tua is gonna actually, like I said, the last 2 3 years they've been hit with a lot of injuries, and Tua's have been at the forefront of that. But I think next season the football gods are gonna bless him, and he's not gonna get injured, and he's gonna play a full season and go into the playoffs.
Fingers crossed for him, man. You never want to see a player deal with injuries like that.
Yeah,
so that'd be a great story.
We'll get into probably more Miami in the offseason. Obviously they're unfortunately didn't make the playoffs. I did pick them to go to the Super Bowl, so I'm not. This isn't a take that's against Miami. I did pick them to go to the Super Bowl, so I want to make that clear first off. I think Miami really, really needs to invest in a backup quarterback. That's something they absolutely need to do in the offseason. They let Mike White go, which I thought that was kind of weird in the offseason, but they need to get a legitimately good. I don't know if it's. I don't even know whoever's going to be available, but go after a legit good quarterback that's a backup, because that was Miami's downfall. Miami is still a good team. I think they could still make some noise if they were able to make the playoffs. They were only out of it by a game. So I think they really need to invest in a backup quarterback, and that will cause their problems because, let's face it, Tua, his entire career since he's been the pros, has not – I don't think he's completed a full season since he's been the pros. And if he has, it's been at least one game, maybe two games, something like that.
He has.
I do think he has. But having said that, I think Miami would be extremely benefited by getting a legitimately good backup quarterback, and that way just keeps them in the hunt. If Tua's going to miss one or two games, and I had a conversation with my buddy last night about it, and we were talking about Miami, big Miami Dolphins fan, so shout out to Scott. So having said that, whenever, if you think about it, because Miami scores a lot of points, if they would get up, why not just take Tua out, just to keep him safe from himself? I know there's incentives involved, but take Tua out sometimes. Let him take a little break or so, something like that, because he's so.
Yeah, but the injuries don't happen at the end of the game, though. It'd be happening at the beginning of the game most of the time when it comes to Tua.
Yeah, you're right. And you can't predict that. But yeah, I think Miami would be extremely benefited by getting a legitimately good backup quarterback. And even if you got to pay him a little bit, let's face it, your franchise guy, you already paid Tua, he's going to be there. How about just pay somebody else to cover your own ass on that one?
Okay, so now that, my bad, BC, but just so I don't forget this question. So now that you said that, do you think they should draft the QB in the draft? Either first round, second round, or third round? Now, fourth, fifth, and sixth, I would say that's 100% guaranteed that they do. But I'm saying the early rounds, when you can get some O linemen, when you can get some defensive linemen, because their defensive linemen have been depleted because of health as well, or receiver, because you don't know what's going to happen with Tyreek Hill. Maybe he stays, maybe he doesn't. But for the first 3 rounds, do you draft the quarterback?
Well, let's go first, BC. Go ahead.
I mean, I tend to lean more in the camp of save it for later rounds. I mean, look at Milton over in up in New England right now. Like, he balled out in his career debut. I mean, granted, yeah, it was last game of the season, tank bowl pretty much for them. But no, I think GMike's kind of more on the money in terms of, like, invest in your offensive line, invest in skill positions. That, like, again, we talk about having a great backup quarterback, and yes, that is a good thing to have. But, like, why don't you just invest in your starting offensive line? Look at the Bucs. They shelled out money for their star left tackle, and it's paying dividends now with an all-pro selection. You need to start bringing in some guys that can protect him. If you know he's a glass cannon, like the second somebody lays a hand on him, it's going to be a concussion. Make sure nobody gets a hand on him. They have the best offensive line in football. And it's not like they're starving for cap space. Like, yeah, they invested a lot in Tyreek and Tua, but you can find offensive linemen that are good. You just got to invest in that, as opposed to, okay, now we need to draft a quarterback in the first round, even though in the second or third rounds, even though now we got a franchise guy. Just invest in the players around him, and he'll be fine, I think.
So to answer your question, no, I don't think they do that in the draft. I could see them going after a veteran. I think that would be better because this year is kind of a weaker class for quarterbacks. So I wouldn't waste the pick. I kind of agree with what both you guys are saying about wide receiver and offensive line. The defense needs a little bit of help as well, but I would not draft a guy. I don't think this year is worth it this year. Get a guy, like, let's go with a perfect example. Your boys, the Cowboys, man, Cooper Rush. Say what you want about the guy, but the guy can play. And Dallas, it was pretty much over whenever he was showcasing what he can do. But if you get a guy like Cooper Rush, that Tua's unfortunately going to miss probably 1 or 2 games. But a guy like that can keep you relevant, keep you going. So if I was them, I would go after a veteran. A little bit if you have to. Hell, Trubisky, or get some guy that could fit the mold of what they kind of do. Go after Trey Lance. I know Trey Lance maybe kind of sucks or something like that, but a mobile guy, someone that kind of fits what they're actually doing and that they can stay relevant. And I think that's where wrong is shell out a little bit of cash for the guys and actually get someone that's relevant.
Bring in the pastronaut, Josh Dobbs. I want to see it.
There you go. Yeah, someone like Josh Dobbs, and like New England did. They had Jacoby Brissett. Jacoby Brissett is going to just be enough to get you by. He's not obviously going to be your starter or anything like that, and they did it right. Drake May looked pretty good. They waited a little while. They let him improve and all that. But I think they should just invest in a backup quarterback. No, and I wouldn't go in the draft with this one. They need too many other things. And I agree with you. Offensive line would be one to protect your franchise guy, considering you guys just paid him a boatload of money.
Yeah, for sure. Round one of that draft, Miami Dolphins have to go offensive line. If they don't, I'm sorry, I don't know what you guys are doing. And then the second pick, they got to go defensive line because you saw Jaden Phillips wasn't there, and forget the other guy's name. Number 2, he came from the Broncos. Bradley Chubb. Bradley Chubb wasn't there either. He was out for the whole year. And then obviously Christian Wilkins went to the Raiders, so they lost their whole defensive line if we were putting it into perspective. So it's like now you don't have a pass rush, and any team is running up on you like it's nothing. So it's like I think those two for sure. And just like BC mentioned right now, corners. I mean, the corners, they're not like a super necessity. I think it's more of the fact that if you don't have a defensive line that can pressure the quarterback, it's hard for corners to stay on top level receivers for more than 5 seconds.
Yeah,
unless you need a pass rush for your defense to be good. If your pass rush is not good, dude, I'm sorry. Or your pass or rush defense from the defensive line specifically, if it's not good, you're not going to be a good NFL defense.
That's
I think that was the biggest waste of money. Holy crap, BG says.
Yeah.
I mean,
and
he's only played a few games in the 2 years that he's playing.
Yeah. Again, like 2020 Super Bowl, Bucks Niners, they had an amazing pass rush. They had some solid corners with Dean and Davis, but they look like world beaters back there with Mahomes barely having time to throw. Got to do it.